All right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. This is T here from TheBlackChair, and we are super delighted to have an amazing guest available today. No other than I'm trying to think of a Lionel.
Yet again, another day of trying to make our way through the morass.
Not a bad one. The inimitable Ollie Dammegard. Ollie, thanks so much for joining TheBlackChair today.
Thank you, and I don't know what that word means, but the inimitable, but it sounded really good, so thank you.
Anything more than 4 syllables, you just hope the meaning's what you mean it. Look, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're on the other side of the planet. It's nice and early, fairly early in the morning, and it's dusk, coming to dusk down here in Melbourne, down under. And it has certainly been an amazing year so far. But before we go into that, I just wanted to let people know that there'll be links to Ollie's website, lightonconspiracies.com, and also to, if you haven't come across Ollie before, there'll be a link to the Open Minds conference, which I believe the 2017 one was where you gave an amazing talk on the deep state. Was that have I got that one right? Was it the 2017?
I think so. I've done that conference 5 years in a row, but I think the one you're referring to is Terror. Are you kidding me? Right. Because in that one, I'm quite proud of that one myself, because what I do is I just break it down step by step by step, how these false flag attacks are carried out and how they do it, by whom, and how we're being played. And I mean, you for sure have been, in your country, have been hit several times with very obvious false flag operations that are there to subdue the population by fear, and then for them the normal person to accept whatever solution the dark forces wants to offer us.
Yeah, look, it's getting even worse here in Australia, unfortunately. We're having governments trying to sneak bills in without them getting seen by any of the politicians. We've got an election coming up in 3 weeks, and fair income, there is not one of the majors is worth, a grain of salt. They are just, it's really sort of quite weird when I think back to Australia in 2000, 2005, 2010. So much has changed in the country, and it's like you say, there seems to be a really concerted effort by the deep state and its minions, who are really pulling the powers of the levers of power in Canberra here, and no doubt elsewhere. They really seem to have stepped up their game this year. How are you seeing it from your neck of the woods?
Since I travel to many different countries, I'm giving presentations, I'm being interviewed from all over the world, and I hear the same story in every single country. It's the exact same agenda being played out. It doesn't matter if you're in Serbia or Australia or the UK or Germany or US. We're looking at a global agenda that is being carried out, and it's the New World Order agenda. And also, I think what's very important to understand is these alleged terror attacks that have occurred, what looks like randomly, they're not random at all. They're coordinated even. And it's in countries that are connected either to NATO, the US and NATO, or there's a very super secret spy alliance called Five Eyes, where Australia is one of them. It's the US, UK, Australia, Canada, and England. But this organization was created right after the Second World War, at the same time when NATO was created. But now they've expanded it, so I believe there's one called 9 Eyes, 14 Eyes, and 41 Eyes. And these are countries that are then connected under the surface, where there's an exchange of all type of intelligence without us knowing it. And so when you look at these alleged attacks and mass shootings, you will see that they occur in the exact same countries over and over and over again. And very often the same cities, the same location, the same police districts. So, I mean, like Melbourne, for instance, that is a joke because it's just over and over again, even in the same street, everything is the same. And the reason why they do that is because then they can recycle the same people.
Do you need a grieving husband? Did a right-winger set off a bomb? Right, yeah, we're just milling about over there. Had a massive explosion. And I'm your man. Tired of melodramatic acting?
There's light away from the darkness. I'm just trying to figure out if he's okay. I lost my 20-year-old, but I had 20 years with my son.
It's just tragedy, horror, and tragedy.
Or maybe you need me to tone down my good acting to match your sorry lot of wannabes. In that case, I can go from this. My name is Bobby Palmer. My family's one of the families that lost a child. To this. My name is Bobby Palmer. And my family's one of the families that lost a child. Going for the guns takes subtlety, like this.
The people they have by the balls that have corrupted themselves and are in this game where the loyalty are to the dark ones instead of to us, the normal people. And then they just it's like watching the same movie over and over again. It's the same script. It's often the same actors, the same crisis actors, the same mayors, the same police chiefs that are afterwards stepping up and saying, we have to stand united in the face of terror. But it's all like a psyop, a psychological operation based on old Roman templates. And the one they always...
It's always that problem solution, type of, and it seems to be the playbook that they use, you know, where you don't have a problem currently at our hands, so we'll create one and then we'll give you the solution to the problem. And I think that's going to get a hell of a lot more interesting as 5G certainly rolls itself out. There's sort of a lot of pushback with that particular technology, and of course, good old Melbourne once again is being surrounded by 5G towers as we speak. So, you know, I'd expect in the next year or two, there'll be even more strange and odd occurrences, you know, just regarding that technology, which the biggest point that I think might have been at the Open Minds conference of 2017 was that 5G millimeter waves shooting through you from, you know, a lot of towers very close to each other. And you really, you know, when the tests were done on beehives, how bees responded to the 5G, they didn't like it and they got the hell out of there. So it'll, I think there's just more of the same and probably possibly a little bit worse ahead.
The G stands for generation. You had 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. That's a whole new ball game. It's a totally different one. We think, oh, it's great because I can download a movie in 1.2 seconds or whatever, you know, that everything just whoa speed-wise. But there's this other side to it that is, I feel, very, very scary. And this is because now suddenly we get into military technology on a whole new level. And where 5G is the standard for so-called smart cities, which is where they want us totally digitalized, where they will be able to control everything. And it's all of these smart devices that I would say the correct name of these devices should be evil. That is more correct. It should be your evil phone, your evil TV, because that is what it's doing to your life. It is bad news. And what they're trying to accomplish is that we will be like in a digital prison where everything will be digital and where they can control it. So that should Mr. T here suddenly not be or saying weird things, they can just shut you down, or myself, or whatever. But also, these are weaponized waves, millimeter waves that can be used for all types of weapon technology. Also, when it comes to crowd control, and in so many different areas we have no idea about.
5G, according to Wikipedia, is the latest generation of cellular communications targeting high data rates, reduced latency, energy savings, cost reductions, higher system capacity, and massive connectivity. There you go. A bunch of big words that may mean something to you, maybe not. But it does sound impressive, right? Who wouldn't want all of that? Well, some might ask, there's got to be a catch. So joining us now is our correspondent, Michelle Greenstein, with the latest on 5G. And I guess the question would be that, here's the setup, ba-dum-bum, is there a catch?
There is, just a small one. It might kill you.
Good to know.
So you'll find.
How so?
Well, a few days ago, actually, a group of scientists, doctors, environmental organizers, and concerned citizens got together and they called for the urgent stop to the deployment of 5G. They said that it's been proven harmful to human bodies, that this is an experiment on humanity, and that this should be called a crime under international law. Let's talk about today's technology, what we have going on today. Your phone is...
So 5G's bad news, I tell you that. So it is.
I'm kind of amazed that there just hasn't been more input from, say, the scientists and people who really should be more aware of what a lot of millimeter waves being passed through the atmosphere would be about. The biggest pushback I'm hearing is really from concerned citizens going, hang on, what are you about to do? It's not good enough, and have you really had a look at it? But, you try and approach any of the companies that are rolling it out, or the government, and it's a wall of silence. So it's pretty concerning in that sense too.
It is standard procedure when it comes to these whatever type of thing they're trying to push on us. There will be, you can scream and shout whatever you want to do, no reaction whatsoever. And then there will be the official version that they will back up with their own scientists that have been paid off. And the other scientists that are really reacting, saying, oh my God, what's going on here? They will not be let forward. They will not be let into mainstream media. They will not be given space in the newspapers, and they will just be ignored. They're there. I tell you that, they're there. There's a lot of very, very concerned scientists that are trying to get it out there. But there's also a whole lot of scientists globally that have been taken out or traumatized or threatened, or you name it. I mean, to shut up, because these dark forces do not want the truth out there.
No, and I think it probably follows the energy situation where we're still really stuck on fossil fuels. We're going towards, I think in the States, looking at drilling for oil, shale drilling, which, has its own impacts. There's been a number of scientists who have been coming up with and producing alternative energy, particularly in the magnetic energy spectrum, who literally have done strange things to themselves, killed themselves in really odd ways. Double tap to the back of the head. How you manage that is beyond me, but there is a huge list of scientists within the energy spectrum who just aren't allowed to get out. I've no doubt within the IT and the telecommunications sector, it'll be the same, and I've no doubt within the weather and environment, it'll be the same too. And it really does seem like there's this huge concerted effort. It's like the deep state has literally pulled the trigger on everything that they really want to impose on people. This year in particular, how have you seen 2019, and how's it been from your point of view?
It's one hell of an intense year, and it feels like everything unsolved in relationships in whatever area of your life. anything unsolved will come up to the surface. It will. You cannot hide it anymore. At the same time, the ones behind the New World Order, are also speeding it up, which I think, in one way, is great news because it shows that they are getting very concerned. I think otherwise, they would play it a lot softer. They would just keep on the stepping stone, a little here, a little there, a little here. There would be no reason for them to show their ugly face through this very brutal censorship, through all kinds of methods pushing it on us, if they were not concerned. And there is a major reason for them to be concerned, because there are so few when you look at it. When you really start picking them out, who they are, they're in the thousands totally, I think, and we are billions. So really, it's a joke, and shame on us for letting this occur, that we're giving these people that type of power so that they can do these things to us, because that is our responsibility.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt that I'd be more than positive that a lot of people would wish these people were exposed. But again, you know, they kind of hide behind figures. I mean, they're pulling the levers of political power. They're pulling the levers of media power. But you know, who exactly are they? This is the real problem. You know, is it one of those things where, if we look in the States and see the lobbyists, for example, who are obviously going to be lobbying for their own interests, it's the people behind the lobbyists. So how do we actually identify these people? And I guess more to the point is, what can be done outside of being careful who you spend your money with? Don't feed the beast.
It's a tricky one, T. It's a tricky one, because it's designed so that you will not be able to see who you're actually dealing with. That is done by design. It's being up against David Copperfield, almost like an illusionist, that there's a lot of smoke screens and strings, invisible strings being pulled. And so who are we up against? And I think this is very, very important to look at, because if we don't know what the problem is, we can't come up with a solution. If we think that we're up against a lot of Muslim terrorists, then the solution would be one thing. But if it's actually being carried out by this hidden, dark, deep state, whatever you want to call them, then the solution is totally different. And I can only say, after 35 odd years digging very deep into so many of these things here, I have not encountered very many Muslim terrorists, that I can say, or terrorists at all. The real terrorists are the ones in great suits, you know, with a flag behind them, bodyguards, armored cars. The ones that step up behind after these things happen and say, we have to stand united. I just have to.
Yeah, but you're quite right. And I sort of, you know, it seems to be, what's really pertinent in my mind is Assange's arrest, where, you know, the Australian government have just said, you know, the silence is deafening. The media coverage is incredibly skewed, and I really thought, you know, ultimately the charges that Assange is holed up for, which was I think the Swedish rape allegations, they were dropped, and by rights you would think that any bail that was associated with those charges would also disappear, as there are no more charges. However, you know, the lackey in Ecuador basically hung him out to dry, got a few billion in exchange for that. The deep state in America really pushed the British to go in and apprehend him. I call that a kidnapping more than an arrest. And the British, who are not meant to extradite any person to a country where the death penalty is in play and there's a chance, well, you know, we're about to see, you know, which laws are convenient for the British justice system and which laws aren't, because I suspect we'll see Assange in American hands before we know it. We certainly won't hear anything from the government prior to the election, and I wouldn't be surprised if they really try and get the US to keep a lid on it until they're back in power. But I think, to me, the Assange arrest is a line in the sand as far as the deep state have gone. They've just said, regardless, we don't want this guy in the public, and all we can hope is that people make an even more concerted effort than ever to expose just the criminality happening around the place, whether the criminals like it or not.
Well, maybe you're in for a surprise here, because I trust Assange about 0%. WikiLeaks, I've been digging a lot into the background of WikiLeaks, and when you see how the whole thing is constructed, the board members, the financing of WikiLeaks and that whole thing, it is a total setup by the US military and other forces, dark forces. There's a lot of people from Tibet and China and stuff behind them. The millionaires that are backing them, the money comes from the same sources that they're exposing. So something very weird is going on. Assange as well comes from a background, in a cult background, where there's a lot of links into Freemasonry, pedophile abuse, MK Ultra, and also the CIA seems to be lingering right behind them. Assange.
Is that with Assange himself, or where are those links being made?
No, that's Assange himself.
Wow.
As a child, he was in this cult, and he was being brought forward like this. The whole setup, there's a very, very interesting book by Daniel Estulin called Deconstructing WikiLeaks. I think that is very important, because when you look at how we're being played, the opposition is extremely important for them to control. So how do you control opposition? You create it yourself. You lead the opposition, so that we, the normal people, think, well, thank God for them. There's somebody really making a difference out there. So Assange, you got Snowden, you got Alex Jones, and you got
Noam
Chomsky. These ones are people that I do not trust at all, because once you start seeing how the whole setup is being brought up, and also how you got for instance, any kind of whistleblower that is really 100% true and valid, they're not given 1 second in mainstream media. Not one headline, not one chance to speak out, nothing. And then you got Assange. I mean, thousands of articles. All the mainstream media is there. You got Snowden. All the mainstream media is there. Bradley Manning. All the mainstream media is there. But everyone else is shut down. And when you look at it, I think it's quite smart the way they do it. Because, like, for instance, Snowden, you had Snowden that came out of nowhere. And if you have two options, either we have to develop a very, very advanced surveillance equipment that would cost trillions of dollars to be able to control the global population. You got that, option one. Option two, you let a so-called whistleblower free that will tell everyone, this is the technology we're facing, this is already in place. Even if you fought, they will be able to see you, they will track your every little move, all of it, it's already there in place. What is most efficient? I would say the Snowden one is incredible. It will cost you absolutely nothing. Some lodging, free house and food and whatever, give him some whatever. He will be the propaganda outlet of whatever they want for us to fear. And I mean, people all over the place, they don't dare to speak to me because they're looking up in the sky saying, I'm being watched, or the phone is listening to me, and I can't this, I can't.
We just keep I think we're like a lot of ants, really, bringing bits and pieces to the table, and at some point, I'm hoping that the evidence against what really is happening and the expose of what really is happening just becomes so bright that people really can't afford to turn a blind eye to it anymore. And I guess this brings me onto a particular question, which is How do you know, let's pull out a crystal ball here and project ourselves to the end of 2019. Is there any particular visions that you see may unfold over the next 6, 8, 9 months?
Well, I'm a super optimist always. It's like every year I say to my sweetheart, this will be the year, this will be the year. And she says, well, it wasn't. Well, I know it, but this will be the year, when everything shifts for the better. And this 2019, like if you have a ball and you have a corner of the room and you throw in the ball there, it will go bouncing like boom, 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 boom. And we are in the phase at the moment. It's speeding up. Everything is just speeding up in an incredible speed. So it's like either we're going down and then it's dark future and goodbye cruel world. It's like not good news at all. Or we're going to transcend this whole thing because there's this immense awakening going on at the same time as well. I mean, I can compare to when around 1980, when I started understanding what was going on. It was so lonely, you cannot even imagine. I did not know anyone. Now it's millions of people everywhere, and I get emails from all over the world in the thousands of people, everybody feels alone and they say, I'm the only one here, nobody understands me, but that's so not true. It's just that so many people are afraid of speaking out. They're afraid of speaking to other people. So when you sit on the subway and you think, oh, I'm the only one that understands what's going on, you don't know what they're listening to in their headphones. Maybe they're listening to this exact interview or whatever, thinking, I'm the only one, but you're not. We're so many out there, and it's on a daily basis, it's just expanding in an incredible way. And this is why they're concerned. This is why we see this ramping up of this thing. Because the thing is, if they're that powerful, people like you and me would be a joke. They wouldn't even care about us. They were like, oh, let them scream, let them complain, whatever. We don't care. We will just move forward. But that is not what we see. I'm being shut down right, left, and center. It's like a YouTube channel had been terminated. My website was destroyed, totally ambushed, nuked, and booby-trapped. It took 6 weeks for 3 people full-time to get it back up and running. It was unreal. I've got fake Twitter accounts that are trying to discredit me. Somebody is posting in my account on Facebook. I'm not doing it. They're posting things that would get me to get shut down. It's just, and it's.
I mean, surely that's certainly a security issue from Facebook's point of view, but who knows where Facebook is standing these days? They certainly removed hundreds and hundreds of alt, be it left or right accounts who were going against the narrative. But to be honest, I think the game in play is the Hillary Clinton emails. I know I've seen you certainly with on Jason's show, and Jason and Charles Ortel, I'm just flabbergasted at how much evidence against Hillary Clinton has been exposed quite openly by Charles Ortel. And I'm there thinking, what are the security agencies thinking? I mean, what is happening to the good guys and girls in the security agencies going, are we expected to turn a blind eye to this? And I'm sure that a lot of people would be having that question, where are all the good guys within the security agencies, within the government, within the powers that be? What are these guys doing? And I mean, if they're not up there and indicting Hillary Clinton for a litany of charges by the looks of things, what are they thinking? What's your take on what the good guys and girls in the security apparatus are going through mentally and physically?
I get contacted by people from many different areas of life, and many of them in the military, in these different organizations. They contact me anonymously. It's in SWAT teams, the police forces, all over the place. Everybody, once again, the same type of story. I know too much. I'm very scared. I don't know who to talk to. I just feel awful about being part of this whole thing, doing this thing to my nation, my people. But what can I do? How can I get out of this? Also, my pension, my job, my family. So they are in a tricky situation. At the same time, you keep quiet, and your whole world will be destroyed, going into absolute darkness, or you get some balls and stand up. You know, this is why whistleblowers are so important, also to encourage other whistleblowers, because so many people know something that can help us move this whole thing forward. Most systems are totally compartmentalized by design so that you only know your little part. But I tell you, it only takes one. In a gearbox, for instance, you only need one little cogwheel, you take it out, the whole thing crashes. And this is the thing, with all of these different systems, you take one little piece out, boom, it comes to a stop. And I loved it during the Second World War. My family was involved in the resistance against the German occupation, and one of the things that they feared the most were the big Tiger tanks. They were invincible. They could just come. You couldn't shoot at them. You throwing rocks. Nothing could stop them except a spoonful of sugar in the tank, because sugar and diesel just totally breaks down the engine. So when I say with the New World Order, let's just add some sugar in the whole game and stop this madness.
Yeah, I think the big thing is transparency, where there's a lot of hiding behind security reasons, commercial incompetence. There's all sorts of ways that people are hiding what they're doing. And really, it would seem that a little bit of, a level playing field, we can see what actually people are doing, would be the call. But anytime you try and bring something like that, you'll get 1,000 reasons why transparency isn't good and how it helps. And of course, the people making those arguments tend to be not far from where the levers of power are really being pulled. Now, what I want to also cover, and this is going to be a two-part interview, ladies and gentlemen, and in the second part, we are going to be dealing with solutions to this. However, you will be able to find that particular part of this podcast over at TheBlackChair.com, so .com.au, I should say. So definitely check that out over there. And we're about to talk about some solutions, Ollie, but on that note, I'll just close up part one. There is so much more we could and will get into. But for now, we'll see people over at TheBlackChair.com.